Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the second ever episode of Epic Live on the Go. As always, I am your host, Athletic and Event Coordinator JJ Jefferson, and joining me tonight, very special guest that I'm super excited to have on as we get ready for the road to Revolver's return to Grand Prairie. Brian and Laura Pulver, aka the Pulver Twins. How are y'all doing?
We're good.
Great, yeah. That's been
Uh,
yeah. We're so excited to be on it too. We're like, yay, we're doing stuff. JJ's
hey,
cool. Yeah.
I'm super excited to have you guys on the show and especially picking your brain because, as y'all know, I've done some interviews with the talent.
Mhm.
I've done some
Right.
interviews with referees.
Oh yeah.
Currently trying to get some managers in there, aka Tony
Uh-oh.
Tony Snow.
Oh,
Wink, wink, wink.
Oh.
he's got a lot to
So
say. Be careful.
we got to work out the details, but I want it to
Hey,
happen.
but he pays well.
Sure.
That he does. Tony, if you're
Yes.
listening, I'm here for you, Tony. I'm waiting on this one. But now tonight I get the photographer side of things. So the very first
Cool.
question I have for the both of you,
Okay.
and I don't know who wants to answer first here. How did you get into the photography business and why?
Ooh.
Well, for me, it really started seriously. I've always enjoyed photography and thought it was cool. Starting off in life, in high school, I was on the high school newspaper. And so I was a writer on that side of things. I wasn't a photographer, but you'd see the cool stuff. And this kids was back when we had that stuff called film and stuff. It was this digital stuff and all. This is way before even digital was the beginning. It was so crazy to think back on that now because it makes you feel really old. It's like all you had was film, and so you had all the sports photographers and stuff take these cool sports shots and stuff, or these cool life shots, lifestyle shots or like that. I was like, well, that's pretty cool. I'd like to do that one day. That'd be neat. By the way, we didn't have cell phones or anything else, honestly. I mean,
Right.
my first actual camera was like this point and shoot little camera. You load the film in the back and it like wound, you had to like wind it every time you took a picture.
Throwback.
Yeah. And I had an incident in high school where I had a new point and shoot camera that did the winding thing for you. And so you like click it and and so we were in Hawaii on a band trip, and we're on the USS Arizona Memorial or whatever that is, right there out in the middle of everything. It was super quiet, so I'm trying to be as discreet and honoring the lives sacrificed there and everything like that. Maybe taking a discreet shot here, there, just one, and then okay. I take one final shot. I think it's all the names they have listed on the wall. It's a beautiful display that really is touching. You see how many people lost their lives that day.
Right.
And it's kind of quiet and somber. And so all I do is click, and then it goes, and instead of just that one little where it's winding, I had taken the last frame of film. And when it does that, kids, it rewinds the entire roll back into the cartridge.
Oh,
and
no.
it was probably like a 24 picture roll or something like that, because it was like a trip. So I was like, I'm taking the big fat 24 guys so I can take all the pictures. And so I'm like, so basically, like if this was the camera, I'm like, click, and it goes, and I'm like, oh, okay, and it keeps going. I'm looking at it, I'm like, put it under my arm, just kind of like hope nobody's noticing, but it's still really loud somehow. It's like, is it not getting quiet or something? I mean, I'm not a small guy. There should be some sort of sound dampening ability here, but yeah. And so, it wasn't until I got into college, where I had gotten all my financial aid, and I'd paid for my classes, made sure to pay for my room and board, the housing and stuff, because they drilled it into you like, you're going to get a lot of money, kids, and what you want to do is take care of all the necessities and basics before you start planning like wild trips with whatever's left over and all this other, because kids would like spend it all and be like, now I owe a ton of money for everything I just did. So for me, I was like, well, I paid for everything, I'm going to get myself a camera. So I got myself a DSLR kind of camera, where the one you can take the lenses off and everything. Was really cool.
Nice.
And so from there I kind of progressed. That was right before digital came in. That camera was like, it was cool because it was an APS-C camera where the little cartridges, you could put it in, take pictures on it, and then you could decide what kind of framing it would be. Like it could be like normal frame, wide frame, or like panoramic. And then you could take it out halfway through, use another one, put the other one back in, kind of thing, and remember where it was. It was like magic.
Oh, excuse me.
But anyway, then digital comes onto the scene, and then like from there, I finally got into digital photography. And what was great about that, of course, you can take as many pictures as you want at that point. And so to skip ahead now to how I got where I am right now, because I feel things glazing over to my left here. And so if that's happening, I can only imagine that the people who haven't heard the story are probably really interested. And I can always tell you later, guys. But here's the how I got into shooting wrestling photography. It actually started. I was shooting roller derby photography for Assassination Roller Derby up in Richardson, I think. Right? Does that sound right? Garland, Richardson area, at the Thunderbird roller rink.
Okay.
And that was cool. Laura knew somebody that was on one of the teams. We went out and checked it out. I took my camera with me. I was like, hey, I'll take some shots. This will be fun. Took some shots, started posting them on the line. And somebody from one of the teams, one of the people that's kind of part of the what's that called? The executive part of it, I guess, saw it, was like, hey, these are pretty good. He's got an eye for roller derby. And so then they invited me to come out as officially as one of the photographers. And so that was really cool because I got in for free. And there was a there was a basket of snacks for the photographers. So I got snacks. I know. And there were perks. Unfortunately, this was right before the pandemic of 2020.
Oh, boy.
And so not only did I kind of, get laid off from my job because I was in event AV. And of course, when the pandemic hit, nobody was having meetings anymore. So there was no need for us. So I was like in this limbo. But then also roller derby kind of shut things down. They had like this whole plan of like, we're not coming back unless these kind of, if it's this kind of contained or whatever. And I was like, well, and look at the plan. It's like, there were like a lot of steps. I'm like, well, I'm not till step 4. So it's not going to come back anytime soon. Exactly.
Lots of time. Nothing but time, right?
Right. And that was really the only sports I'd ever shot, but I really loved shooting it. It was a lot of fun. And then so I was a little bit listless there, JJ, kind of to and fro in life. Yes, exactly. And this is where Laura comes in handy.
The world's smallest violin, right?
Yeah, thanks, guys. So this is where Laura becomes useful. And see, I started working with her at the comic book store she was working at the time, and we're doing these online sales shows, streaming online, which became big during the pandemic because you can have a lot of people weren't going out to stores and things, but you could sell online to people at home and sure ship out the stuff to them. Through that, we met a gentleman named Richard. Became friends with him.
Know him. Richard Hill, you might know him.
Exactly, Richard Hill. And he's like, hey, you guys should come out to the wrestling show I'm a part of. I'm like, okay, cool. And it all the information kind of gone through Laura at the time. And I was like, she just kind of invited me along. I was like, okay, that sounds like fun. And and at one point I asked her, so what does Richard do with them? Is he what is he? She's like,
we had no clue.
Exactly. Well, she's like, oh, he's the booker. And I'm like, so he's like basically the guy that like facilitates the whole show, essentially. Right. She's like, what? Anyway, so first show, I drive out there. I forgot I was going to take my camera, but then I forgot because I was on the fence because I didn't know, right? If I knew then what I know now, because I was like, well, maybe they don't let you bring your own camera to shoot things. Maybe there's a thing like no cameras allowed or something, something like that. No, not at all. But anyway, I didn't know that going into it. So I get there the first time, and so I'm shooting stuff with my my phone. I think it's like an iPhone 5 or something. I still have those pictures. Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Those early pictures are a little
My early pictures are not great. Now, the good news is that was only one time. After that, it was like, so my thinking going into it was like, okay, I'll shoot with my camera tonight or my phone tonight. And if we happen to come back sometime, I'll bring my camera then.
Right.
And then after staying there at MPX for one night, so watching the show and everything, it was like, so we're coming back next week, right? We had something planned, though. So we're like, well, we're coming out the next week, right? And though ever since then, I've only missed like 2-3 times because I was like either deathly ill with COVID or exposed or something. It was like there was like a severe reason why I wasn't there. And there's a couple of times where like I just got out of the hospital like the day before.
There were times when we would like he would be in the hospital. We'd be like, okay, so if you get out Friday,
exactly,
we can still make it to
That's right. So 2 to 3 days, Doc. So if it's more on the 2-day side, I'll be out Friday or like early Saturday. Is that okay? Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And so I started off that first time like second row, and then eventually things kind of grew. So it's like roller derby. I took pictures. I would post them on Facebook, like, hey, check it out. And then it kind of caught on. Dexter Hardaway was one of the people at the beginning who really started posting my work and give me credit and stuff. And eventually I got to move my way up to the front row. Eventually the part where they were like, this is Brian's seat right here. and then in the Kirby regime, eventually when Kirby, I was told, because when it first started, I didn't get in until everybody else got in, like regular door time. And then somebody would tell me that Kirby, Stephen Kirby, who was the owner at the time, is part of the beginning of their kind of like their pre-meeting that they have, where they kind of go over things for the show, like, hey, be careful of this, do this, you know, kind of thing. They're just, you know, safety stuff and all that. Kirby would make a point to be like, okay, and so sitting right over there by that pole will be a guy with a camera. He's going to make you look good. And then somebody told me one time, he said, and don't charge him for autographs because he's doing it for you, you know, kind of thing. I was like, oh, that's so nice. So
it's just grown from there.
It just has. And then when ownership changed over to what it is now with the Palmers,
the Pruitts.
And then Pruitts, thank you. I was like, Ernie and Audie, what's the last name? Anyway, dude, I tell you, it's been one of those days. But anyway, so yeah. Then I get in a little bit earlier now, so I get to kind of get in a little bit earlier, so I can kind of get all set up and ready to go, and you kind of see a bit more and experience a bit more, and it's been pretty cool. But even with that, I tell everybody all the time, I may get in early and I may see some things or some people. I still have no idea what is going to happen. So when I'm like freaking out that something's going on, I'm with you on the whole thing. I have no idea what's going to happen. It's like, and at ringside, when I've done ringside right there are moments where it's like, oh, what's going to happen next to us? And all of a sudden, whoosh, somebody comes running in right beside me. Oh my gosh, what in the world? Like just last week on Thursday or whatever, on Thursday's show, I was like taking pictures, and there was like a run in where all these guys kind of run in to chase off the bad guys or whatever. And I'm like, oh gosh. So like basically just got to hunker down and just wait for it to end. You're like, okay, now back to pictures, you know?
So for my part of everything, it's a little simpler. Basically, I am a classic little sister in a way. And that, oh, what's Big Brother doing, you know?
Right.
And I think probably the early part that's interesting from our story is a lot of my, like 99% of my cameras up till last year.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, yeah.
Were all hand-me-downs from my brother. So when Christmas or my birthday would come around and he was thinking about upgrading, he would pass down the camera that he was using. And so I really learned a lot on those cameras, and then slowly just kind of like, I still sometimes have to ask him, okay, what is this? What does it do? But so basically, when we've always gone and done photography off and on. I did a whole lot with just my cell phone at first. Then when we started going to MPX, it was during the pandemic. And so we had a lot of time on our hands, unfortunately. And I started coming with him, and I've been more off and on than he has. But I would come and sit ringside next to him, and we'd both shoot side by side. Then it got to where it was kind of like, well, we're kind of shooting the same things. So we change it up a little bit. But literally getting actually ringside came just out of the blue in a way. It's something we had talked about with them off and on, right. But it was, they were kind of reluctant to have another person ringside because there's not a lot of room around there.
They've got a couple of camera people already and that sort of thing.
It's really easy to get in the way.
Sure.
So,
well, by that time we'd done ringside at other promotions.
Yes.
And for me, what happened is working in MPX led to working with HOT down near Waco. They're based out of Waco these days. But beforehand, they were like all over the place around Waco, to these places you've never heard of and probably shouldn't visit without GPS.
Or at night, late at night.
No, oh my gosh. Coming home from those shows, love HOT, but coming home from those shows that are like in the middle of nowhere is the scariest thing ever. You're like, okay, somewhere there's civilization or an axe murder. Let's see which one comes first. But anyway, so we learned shooting around ringside at that point. At least we had those kind of outlets too. We worked with HOT and also Baracho Pro. Laura's worked with a couple of others. And so eventually MPX came around on the idea.
Well, and honestly, so getting actually ringside at MPX started, we had talked about it with them off and on. We had kind of, just, it hadn't really had like any serious moves or anything. And then was it Destiny we were getting ready for?
I thought it was before Destiny.
It was either Destiny or Texas Rumble. It was one of the big shows. Anyway,
okay.
I can't remember off the top of my head. But there were going to be some big guests coming up. And so we had mentioned that one of the things we really wanted to do was get some cool entrance shots.
Oh, yeah.
And so we had decided that we were going to be ringside for that show.
Right.
And then next thing I know, Audie's just kind of like, hey, do you want to shoot ringside? And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I think her and Athena had discussed it or something. Anyway, it basically was just, hey, do y'all want to do it? And we were like, oh, yeah, we want to do it. So, and that led to other promotions. A lot of the other promotions that we've worked with is actually just, we would go to the show and we would shoot from front row. We were not part of the crew. We were not part of the show. We went there as fans, just a lot of times shooting for the guys that we knew that were in the show. And then, you start networking with people and just kind of working,
Because with a lot of the smaller shows and stuff, especially, and especially back then, there wasn't a whole lot of video necessarily. Or in some places, they'll take video, but you'll never see it, kind of thing.
Right.
That's evolved over time, though. But so our photos and stuff that we took was kind of like the only record they had. And sometimes they just want the record of like, hey, remember that match I had with that guy? And it was in the middle of nowhere. But at the same time, it was like, the fun stuff that they do. And sometimes the smaller venues, smaller shows gives you that freedom to do like fun and crazy stuff. Or maybe you get that match you never thought you'd get. That sort of thing. So it was, like she said, we started off kind of doing it just for the guys. And that was always been my philosophy on it, was when I brought my camera back that time, that second visit, was like, I'm like, what am I doing here? That moment of like, what am I shooting this for? What's going on? What am I going to do with these pictures? What's going to happen? And then it just became this idea of, well, I'm going to do it for the people that put on the show. My goal personally was to at least give everybody at least one picture, get to capture one picture for everybody, the wrestlers, referees, whatever, that they could have and share and be able to point at this moment and be like, check out this cool thing I get to do that I really love and get to share. And this all grew from that. And then down the road,
we should probably let him ask a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, this is great.
Here's an interesting end to what we're talking about, at least I think so. You can go back and edit it if it's bad, but here we go. So here I am shooting pictures. I've done this for almost 4 years now at this point.
Has it really been 4 years?
It has been 4 years. It
feels like it's been longer.
Oh, thank you. It does. It does. There are moments where it's like, why do I keep doing this? No. But yeah, the statistics real quick are 4 years. And according to Canon, as I just broke my camera a second time and sent it off, I've taken 3 million pictures just about in the entirety of those 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, my camera recently broke about a month ago, I guess.
For the second time.
Second time, right. The first time, it was a little over 1 million pictures. And then this last time, 2 million. Because I only found out because I sent it off, and when they sent it back, it came with here it is, actually. The camera paperwork, and they're like, let me see what it says here. So it's all pretty dry, right? It's like, customer states error 1 and error 20 and tiered rate repair, blah, blah, blah. Estimator reflects clean and check. Please respond, thank you. A technician has evaluated your camera and found that the shutter and mirror counts are over 2 million and need to be replaced. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. But yeah, so here I am at that point in life, right? And
wow.
And at this point, it was still kind of me as a solo show, the part I'm talking about. So it's been probably about a year ago or so, or about 6-7 months. And then that's when Laura really got into it. And for me, that was the coolest thing ever, because when you get into wrestling, even like the major stuff on TV and the travel, all the shows and stuff, there comes a point where it's like, I don't know if I'm going to have friends or anyone that enjoys this the way that I enjoy it. Sure, right. We enjoy it together, but on the level and the feeling for it that I have for it. Right. Because for me, it's theater. It's all these guys working hard throughout life and everything, doing like that, putting themselves on the line, doing what they can to put on this performance for us kind of thing. And I've gotten to see more and more of that. Anyway, so there's that deep kind of appreciation that I think I have for it. And when Laura got into it, I got to see the same thing in her. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's someone I can share this with. Holy cow. And when she was talking about earlier about getting my advice and everything, one of my favorite things, Laura goes ringside for the first time at MPX. And she has this moment where she comes over and she's like, I don't know. What am I going to do? And so I turn into the big brother coach mode. And I'm like, it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. You know exactly what you're doing. You're going to go out there. You're going to take the pictures. They're going to be awesome, just like you always do. It's going to be great. So I got to give her this kind of pep talk. And then few shows after that, she'd always come over like, "What do you think I should do about this and all that?" And I'd be like, "Well, you could try this, the shutter speed." Blah,
I
blah,
would
blah.
text him. Like, there were a couple of times I had to do a show without him.
Oh, that's right.
Or we would have to separate and do 2 shows at once. And I would be texting him, and I'm like, I'm so nervous. I just really hope I don't screw up or something doesn't happen to the pictures. Da da da. And he's like, "It's okay. Just do what you do. You'll be fine.
Just do what you do. Be the hardest working wrestling photographer in the state of Texas." I think Laura at one point was shooting way more shows than anybody else because she had the weekly shows at NPX and she'd do the monthly shows over here and the monthly shows over there, and so it was just like, you know what you're doing. You just got to go out there and do it. But so where I'm getting to is that really kind of reinvigorated, kind of really solidified my love for it. It was like, it wasn't necessarily waning, but it was kind of like, I just don't know if anyone's going to ever get this like I get this. And it was kind of like, I don't really have anyone to share that with. And it's kind of sad to one degree, but at the same time, it's like, that's how it is. That's how it is. But then I get to share it with Laura, and we're doing road trips to Waco, those weird out of the way places around Waco, and down to Austin, and covering great wrestling. And we've made great friends in wrestling. And it's just one of those things. And I think the testament to that is that our partnership with Baracho Pro down in Austin came across. We were at an Inspire show in Austin. There's a promotion called Inspire in Austin, and so you see some of the same wrestlers around the state there and everything. And we're just there, like Laura said, front row. It was at T Ray's retirement. I think it was T Ray's retirement because we were sitting on that side.
Yeah.
So a wrestler named T Ray was retiring in this match. We kind of went to go see that, and there's some other stuff we want to see too. Some of our friends are wrestlers. These are gonna be big matches for our friends. Let's go watch. Oh, and T Ray's retiring too, by the way. So we sat front row. Exactly. So we sat front row, took pictures and everything like that. I ended up getting some great shots because at some point it just kind of devolves into chaos and everybody's all everywhere. You're like, I'm going to get ringside right now. Click, click, click. Anyway, but before the show, Bradley Mann, the promoter for Baracho Pro, was like, "Hey, I want to talk to you guys after the show." We're like, okay, because we'd gone to Baracho Pro shows, same thing. Go shoot pictures for our friends and go have fun watching wrestling.
Right.
We're like, all right, I have no idea what he wants. You have any idea? No, I have no idea either. All right. Oh. Show goes on, show goes over. Hey, Bradley's over there. And then, wait, where did Bradley go? I don't know where Bradley went. Well, I'm sure he'll get in contact with us. Yeah, whatever. It'll be fine. It's fine. But still, there's a question of like, but what do you want? I don't know. What do you want? I don't know. Did we do something? I don't know.
Are we in trouble?
Exactly. Did you do something? No. And so anyway,
ended up offering us.
Yeah, he ended up saying, we love your work and we want you to be our photographers. And we're like, what? Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, so that's the progression of everything. And there you go.
Hey, no, that was absolutely perfect. That actually concludes the interview. No, I'm kidding.
Sorry, JJ.
No,
and now to hand it back to JJ, your host.
No, it's okay because you guys actually were kind of hitting on some of the stuff that I was going to ask, and that's another reason why I really wanted to get you guys on the show was to get a different perspective and a feel for it because, like I said, I've interviewed talent, Caven, Scorn, Tatum, Demo. Demo's coming back, by the way. Demo, I'll see you soon. And the list kind of just goes on, which I got a little secret for you guys that we'll chat about afterwards.
Oh boy.
But,
secrets.
There's just so many different sides of it. And the biggest thing that you touched on that I kind of took away from it was the absolute passion for the industry. And that's kind of the whole reason why all of this has started with the Epic. You guys know the story already about Tatum being the Grand Prairie kid, me being from Grand Prairie, working for the city of Grand Prairie, and
hey,
when
I got this venue.
when I got the position, I was like, hey, there's this amazing venue in the Epic, and why are we not doing wrestling here? Like, this should totally be a thing. It should totally make sense. And Tatum still needs to headline a show. Wink, wink. But at the end of the day, all of the, situations and passions and everything kind of just molded together. And crazy enough, it's been a year, but we've had 5 consecutive shows. And it's like every time we do a show, it's gotten bigger and it's gotten bigger. And the last Revolver show was a testament to that, where we had almost 1,000 people in attendance.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, it was mind blowing.
Right.
And that kind of leads into the next question I have for both of you, because you guys touched on how you sit ringside, or you are ringside, or it's one of you, it's both of you. in previous shows at the Epic, both of you have been ringside. Destiny, Purge. Thankfully, you survived.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. Oh my god.
But
You talk about going to a show not knowing what's going to happen. You're like, but it's the Purge. Shouldn't I
Man.
know something about what's going to happen?
when I tell you I was watching from the second level of the track in my comfort zone, I was like, yes, all of the chaos is happening down there. Just don't come up here, but yes. But no, the question I have for you guys, and you touched on this too, where you guys have done, locations in no-name cities, in Austin and San Antonio, and warehouses, venues like the Epic.
Yep.
Breweries.
Yeah.
What's kind of the
Arcade.
vibe and the atmosphere that you guys take away from different venues like that? More specifically from the Epic.
Ooh.
Well, starting off with the smaller venues, perhaps. So those venues in the middle of Texas, really small. There was one that was like a really large house
We literally were in a house that had been converted.
into like a meeting hall kind of place.
I really was afraid. I mean, there was high enough ceilings, but there was a second of, are they really serious about this?
That one of my favorite stories from that one is as we're pulling up to this place, because one, have we found the right place? Two, oh look, there's a nice little kitty cat that lives here. That's nice. And then three, as we're parking everything and getting out, Demo Diamond and Dmitry Alexandrov are coming out and getting into a car and driving off because they've got to go buy their own deathmatch weapons that night. On a Sunday night. We're like, well, good luck, guys. We'll see you. And so,
Interesting.
yeah, so it was a very intimate venue. Sometimes with them, they'll modify the ring where, you see a normal ring, you've got like the apron.
It's on the floor.
And then, they'll have it like actually on the floor.
Right.
And sometimes when they do that, what happens is there's not a lot of stability to the ring posts. And so the ropes themselves aren't tight or whatever. And so if the guys get out there early and, kind of testing things out, stretching, walking through things, whatever you want to call it, they'll know and they'll plan for that. Like, okay, so I'm not doing X, Y, and Z tonight because it's not going to happen.
Right.
Anything like bouncing off the ropes, doing like a trick off the ropes or off the top turnbuckle or whatever. And then you'll see there's sometimes the guys who are a little bit busy or get in late, and then they'll get in and not know that until we get to their match. And they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, what just and so
I touched the ropes, and it's like they just like flew.
Yeah, there's a little bit of surprise there for them. So, but in those kind of venues, even though it's small town Texas or whatever, it's still like you can all the seats are within like 10 feet of the ring or whatever. It's like you are front row as it is.
Right.
And so they've grown.
But it's kind of cool in those venues. I mean, all the venues are very different.
Yeah, they're very unique.
Very different crowds.
Yeah.
Very different interactions. Very different vibe. But the smaller venues, while they do have like kind of drawbacks and kind of like, it's equipment, things and stuff.
We'll call it a special uniqueness.
That's where we see a lot of like the same people always coming back.
Right.
So some of the people that I would see at HOT, I would end up seeing at Baracho Pro, because they're just wrestling fans. But we also saw the other side because some of those were sponsors with schools and like local organizations.
Yep. So we've been to gymnasiums. A range of gymnasiums.
So you would see a lot more of like the community atmosphere as far as like, almost feeling like you're at a like city event. But it was a lot of people it's a lot more people that probably have never even been to a wrestling show.
Right.
They just happened to see, hey, there's a wrestling show in town. There's not a lot going on. You want to go to the wrestling show?
Yeah, wrestling.
So it's a smaller, but it's also a little more intimate.
Right.
And then going on to the bigger venues, like we've done an arcade, we've done a brewery, we've done Southside Ballroom, we did Circle 6 Brewery, but we've also done Martin House. So all these different venues. So those are a little bit more of like the party. But the fans are a lot of fun.
Right.
That's true. Because there's an awful lot of drinking that goes on.
No.
Southside Ballroom is, that's
exactly
that one, yeah.
When you're in a brewery or ballroom, expect a lot of BYOB and at the bar, drink all the things you want. So,
but where I've shot Mat War Pro, it's a little bit more vibe. It's a little bit more old school. It's a little bit more like they do a lot more of a fight night thing, because they pat them down, they square up, and then afterwards they interview them. So that kind of gets me looking. I remember talking when we were taught, they were talking about MPX coming to the Epic, and kind of what their goal, or I remember you know, when MPX was talking about coming to Epic, it was a lot about like, if, because you know MPX is it probably fits more people than it looks, but it's it when you see it from the outside and everything, it looks like a very small venue.
Right.
But for things like Texas Rumble, Purple Rain, it always sold out. And so the next step was trying to figure out where they could go that could hold a bigger crowd. And if we go to somewhere that can hold a bigger crowd,
can they fill it?
Can we fill it?
Yeah.
Is it going to work to where the more room we have, the more people that come?
Because like in unique places like MPX, if you haven't been, it's a great place. But it's in a little strip center. It's you know, you go in, the ceiling is about 10 feet tall or whatever, except over the ring where they've got it basically pulled out to where they have a little bit extra room.
It's gotten knocked down.
It's right. The ceiling did come down that one time. Luckily on the opposite side of the ring from where we were. But yeah, and so it's one of those things of. But what's really cool is, so you have the kind of the nomadic promotions where it's like, hey, this month we're over here, next month catch us over there, so they travel. MPX is like really for the beginning was one of the only ones that like it had its place. It, you know, it's there, its own venue. You know, they pay rent, there's all the thing, and so
weekly. It's
and when you get to do that, you get to like invest in lighting and stuff and like all the different things. And so our pictures look amazing from there because they've invested in lighting and stuff. And the smaller stuff don't necessarily get that option, or kind of opt to do something else, maybe more of an audio thing, or more like decoration or something like that, or maybe not, you know, to save money or whatever, and which is fine. It's just we can adjust, but it's one of those things like you can kind of see a difference as you go along, and then you get to the Epic, which is the biggest venue we've shot in, and like that high ceiling where like you think anything can happen. I'm gonna see guys jumping off this thing on everything, and then you got the crowd where you can like. Well, yeah, there's the basketball goals you can jump, but you can't jump off those. Don't jump off. Don't jump off those.
Trey Miguel, Zachary Wentz, like the Rascals did it, and it was like
JJ would prefer you didn't, everybody, but you know, as a fan, it's pretty cool. But anyway, and so
I mean, the crowd did go crazy, and I still to this day, no one has said anything to me yet. So
okay,
we're good.
Yay! And so we get to the Epic, right? And it's just like. What? No, it's almost like this land of possibilities. You know, anything can and will happen. We had that dumpster match. Like, how are we going to do that? Well, they just did it. Okay, fine. You know, it's just all this great stuff. And it's like, but what's really great is, I know Revolver at least will do the part where, like, all of a sudden it spills out into the crowd and they're just beating each other up and amongst the seats and all the people. And so those guys in the far back section are like, they're coming our way. What are we doing? Oh my gosh. And so what I really like about Revolver, even though we're not ringside, sitting front row for that is always a great time, because I was thinking about it on the way in about how Revolver show works, and one of my favorite Revolver matches is Matt Palmer versus Abaddon.
Yeah,
Abaddon is awesome to shoot because just the look, the way they are, and how they move in the ring and everything like that. And then you got Palmer, who is equally just fun to watch, you know. And so when you put them together, it's a great match. But what they did, and one of the things about a big venue like the Epic, is they made sure that everybody on every side got some part of the match. Right. It wasn't like, okay, we're gonna do all our, you know, like because typically what happens to everybody is one side of the ring is called the hard cam. What that is an unmoving camera that stands there and catches all the action while everybody else is getting on the mobile stuff. It's kind of like your basic, this will catch everything just in case we need it kind of thing. Provides wide shots, that sort of thing. So they prefer that your performers enter and make your poses and everything to the hard cam, perform big things in the hard cam, so we get the good video for it. So if you're sitting like, and what happens a lot of times I've noticed, the hard cam is not on the side with all the people.
No.
It's like, hey, that's kind of like the most shallow side of the whole thing. So you're going to end up going all over there. But what I saw a lot in the Revolver show is that, and also like the Mansoor Brian Keith match did the same thing, is they're all over that place. They're all around the ring. They're chasing each other. They're doing a spot over here, and they're doing a spot on the other side. So no matter where your ticket is, it's like, it's really entertaining, because it's like, they're going to come your way any moment, and you're going to have a great time.
Right. Well, and you have to think about it. When we went from MPX to the Epic, at MPX, there's not seating on that one side.
That's right.
It's just the 3 sides. So this was the first time where we had MPX all the way around.
Oh, that's true.
You could sit on any side, and get a part of the show. And I think what was neat about Revolver really going with that first show before MPX did theirs was that you saw a company come in and you saw what could be done.
Yeah.
They kind of...
It was really inspiring to see. You're like, ooh.
They kind of set that, came in and kind of like set that first tone and first step of this, these are things you can do. Here's, setups you can do.
Right.
Because that's the other thing. How do we take MPX to the Epic?
Almost how do you make it fit the Epic? It's like, we can do what we normally do, but it's,
we're used to this little venue.
Right. 3 rows each side kind of thing, where in the Epic, it's like all these rows and all these people.
So you got to see MPX kind of spread its wings a little bit.
Yeah.
And really kind of grow into a bigger area. And I think even now that we've come back, well, I mean, obviously we're still working with Epic, but even back at the smaller venue now, you see that some of the things that have kind of progressed with being at the Epic follow back to MPX.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've seen lighting changes, just like different things. Also, I think it kind of spurred to help him, really put that, okay, you know what, this is worth the investment. These things are worth the investment because now we've shown that we can make these things successful, and everything else.
And the ticket sales probably helped too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ticket and concessions probably helped on the changes as well. But that's one of the great things about MPX, if I may, for a moment, and Pulver specifically, only because. So if you went to MPX when we did originally, the walls were kind of like a 2-tone thing, a lighter kind of gray on top, darker gray on bottom. And then when the changeover happened, it went to all black. It took some time, took some weeks. And it's like, wow, you guys are going for that really all black thing. It's like, yeah, so Palmer's been in here painting all this, painting the ceiling, doing all these things. Like, oh my gosh. And sure enough, week by week it progressed. And it's like, okay, so they're going kind of like this black box theater kind of thing. All right, We'll see how that goes. And they keep progressing. They keep moving forward from there. Lighting, whatever they do. And so the things they're doing, the video packages and things like that, they keep taking that next step forward. And I think the Revolver kind of helped kick them into that gear.
Yeah.
And then like Laura's saying, when you go to the Epic and see like, well, that's how they did it. Well, how can we do it a little bit better?
My favorite thing about the Revolver shows, honestly, is because the Revolver had come, and the neatest thing for me is getting to see the guys interact with these people who are on a little bit bigger venue, have matches that kind of push them a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what was really neat is to see them get to do that. And then in front of this, big audience and everything. And then when it came and it was just MPX at the Epic, like getting to see them kind of step into, okay, now y'all are the lead characters in this. And watch them like kind of step into this bigger role, basically.
A spotlight, if you will.
Yeah, it was really neat.
I was so worried. I thought she was going to say step into the sun, and I was just like, oh,
no.
Think, yeah.
I have not drank that Kool-Aid.
Okay.
Thank you. Granted, our logo is the sun, so we did it first, but it's fine.
Wait a minute. The sun.
Jay. Do we need to have a talk?
We don't have to have this. We can.
I am their favorite photographer.
Okay.
I just want to put that in there while I can.
Oh boy.
No, so we did this thing. So some of the fun stuff being ringside photographer. Me and Laura worked out this situation where we'll switch halfway through during the show at MPX now. I'll be front row and she'll be ringside for like the first half. Then we switch it up where she'll be front row and then I'll be ringside. Right. And we did that. And then House Sagan comes out and they're like, "What are you doing over here? You get over here and take our picture." I'm like, "Yes, okay, guys, hang on." So I had to go like the front of the ring. I'm like, "All right, click." And then it was a great shot, but it's just one of those things where like sometimes you get to be part of the stuff and it's fun. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, and to add to that, we kind of get some competitive sometimes.
What?
And
No
especially
way. Never
early
see
on.
it.
Early on, when we first started, one of our things would be like, "Hey, so and so just used my picture. So and so used my picture for that." And then Dimitri started. It started with Dimitri.
She's still not gotten over this.
Because he would always come in and he'd be like, "That's Dimitri. That's my friend Dimitri."
Just to mess with Laura.
And I'm just like,
that's my friend Dimitri.
Okay.
That's my friend so and so. They use my pictures.
And so then it evolved. It's like, I'm like, well, Demo says I'm Demo's favorite. You know, I'm Brick's favorite. So
I wasn't so sad about Demo, but Brick, I'm like, yeah, she's got the market cornered on Brick, unfortunately. Like,
I feel like me and Brick kind of grew up in the industry together. Well, not so much. I mean, obviously he started way sooner.
But there are some wrestlers. Oh, sorry, we're like going to talk about stories because there are some wrestlers that you kind of do grow up with sometimes. I mean, in my 4 years of doing this, I've seen
the boys. Well, okay, the Scorn.
The Scorn. Back when they were the boys.
Like, because I remember when they very first came to MPX. And you go back and you look at those pictures, and they look so young.
So young, the little Hannibal Lecter masks or whatever they had on. They kind of like you're like, what's going on here?
Yeah, and then but that's the thing. You see them like that, and then you get to follow them and progress to doing a show like Revolver.
Yeah, that was one of the pictures I pulled out for the museum thing we're asked to be part of. Was the picture of them at their entrance at the Revolver thing, because I thought that was really cool to kind of. Like she said, we'd seen them like when they first debuted. It's like, here are the boys, Gabe and Tommy or whatever. I don't even think they actually debuted under those names, but
no,
I don't think they did because I was like, who, what, and yeah. But anyway, so yeah, a little bit of trivia there, kids. But it was really cool because you see not only the stories they get into and everything like that, but their styles, the way they enter, the way they interact with fans, the whole thing, just the whole thing that they've grown into now.
Right. And
now they're these two old men of wrestling now. You know, they got everything figured out. Like,
now they're the ones teaching the guys below them. And
that's right. At the MPX Wrestling Training School. Get information at MetroplexWrestling.com.
But to also add to that, sometimes the pictures that we take, we don't even realize how important they are until after we take them. Yeah. Unfortunately, we have had. We've photographed several events, like T-Ray's retiring. We've done a couple of their retirements.
Right. And sometimes you don't know. I think sometimes
they don't tell you sometimes.
Right. And they're like, that was my last match. Or they it's like, that was it. Like,
and I think where that really hit home is when Jason Silver passed away.
Yeah.
When that happened and we realized we had photographed his last entrance and his last exit and his last match, that kind of stopped you for a second. But then at the same token, you're thankful that you did it.
Right. And it was, so at MPX, his last match was part of the Texas Rumble. But his actual last match was an HOT match in a high school gym in, where was that place? I don't remember. One of the small places, one of the small venues. I think it was the venue where they were like, yeah, we got air conditioning. And it was these two fans up in the
one with the gym on top.
On the, maybe.
I don't remember.
But yeah,
some
so
of
anyway.
The gyms.
yeah, they all kind of look the same. You're like, oh, okay. But yeah, but that was the thing though. It was a VIP match. Right. And so it's like, that's the first one out. You get the VIP, come on in kids, meet and greet, and we got a match for you. It was Jason Silver versus Dan the Man. I was ringside for that one, and it was great. That was before my camera stopped working on me. But it was interesting because it was fun because it had all these great comedy Jason Silver moments that you didn't get to see a lot of when he's more of an intense Jason Silver kind of thing. Right. But he did a lot kind of more comedy stuff, and it was great. It was all these like great Jason Silver bits that you've enjoyed. You're like, oh, these are great. This is fun. Kind of like classic moments we're getting to see kind of again.
But then we've also done some of the funner stuff.
Sure.
We've done a gender reveal.
That's true. We did Demo Diamond's gender reveal.
We've done 2 marriage proposals.
Which I still need to get him those pictures. Yeah, marriage proposals.
We've done, Zephyr and Phil's.
Yeah.
We were there for that one.
Right, yeah. So there's been a lot of more fun moments. Birthday parties.
We've done, yes. We have
birthday parties. That was interesting. That was the first time I saw Mikey B. That was his kind of debut, was at this birthday party. I think it was for Langley's birthday party. Langley McClendon is an interesting kid. He's kind of grown up at MPX and other places, and now he's like getting in the wrestling scene. He's like tag team champions over at CWF now with Barrett Brown. So it's like, or no, some other guy.
And you talk about crazy. We photographed Langley when he was like
12.
You go back and you look at the birthday party pictures, and he's so young. And,
oh yeah.
And photographs of him in kids camp and stuff.
Yeah.
And now he's out there with Barrett Brown winning titles. It's
like, hey, where's Langley? Oh, he's off winning tag championship tonight or whatever. You're like, all right then, and so, yeah, there's a lot of different firsts and lasts and in betweens that you catch and you don't know until, like she said, and then so you try to like hold on to it all and keep it in some sort of like manageable mess of pictures.
Right.
I've got hard drive upon hard drive. Yeah.
No, that's exciting because it kind of talks like the highs, the lows, the goods, the bads, the ups and down. Like it's all blended in together, and that kind of segues into the last little thing I wanted to talk to both of you about.
Yeah, both of us.
And I feel like y'all kind of sort of answered it a little bit, but I'm gonna throw you on the hot seat because that's what I do best.
Great.
In your career,
there was no mention of this.
I almost said the wrong word.
Uh-oh.
In your career photographing, there we go.
Yes.
Okay. HOT, Barato Pro, MPX, the joint show with Revolver.
Mm-hmm.
Who, or you can have a top 3 if you want. Who are some of your favorite people to work with and take action shots of?
Oh.
Well, if I jump in there, I'm gonna steal Laura's. I'm gonna be like, one of Laura's top 3 is going to be the world-breaking Brick Savage.
Well,
and I'll tell you why.
That's an automatic.
That's an automatic. And there are many reasons why it's automatic. Well, chief among them, outside the ring with some M&Ms, Brick Savage isn't a bad person. Inside the ring,
don't tell people that.
I know. Inside the ring, if you've got what they want, it's over. But yeah, no, but just the athleticism and just the enthusiasm for what they do is always a lot of fun to photograph and just to experience. Right. I'm trying to think. For
Brick, okay. I will give Brick credit because Brick, there would not be a Laura in Pulver photography without Brick.
Thank you, Brick.
Well, you too, but
not in a bad way. I was just sorry.
The reason I say that is because and I know other wrestlers were this way with my brother, so I know he could name a few. But Brick was the first one that I kind of worked with and felt inspired to do other things, but also was really supportive of like using the photos and getting them out there and like, hey, you're doing a good job and like, just really making me want to do it more.
Right.
Yeah, that little bit of encouragement like that is like so it does a lot with anything, but like for basically kids just like taking pictures of stuff to find out that they're actually doing something meaningful. It's kind of like, well, okay, cool. It's like that dopamine rush where you're like, I'm doing something cool.
All right. So who would be another one of yours?
Well, I like Dmitry Alexandrov because Dmitry Alexandrov is a little bit of the Swiss Army knife of wrestling, as I like to say. Dmitry will do everything from straight up wrestling. He'll do some comedy. He will do hardcore deathmatch, whatever. Lucha Extrema, even, which is always fun for me to say. But I always enjoy like going to a show and like Dimitri's there and he's like, okay, man, I've got this big match coming up. Like, so what are you guys doing? We're doing some stupid stuff. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean, buddy? What? And maybe sometimes he'll elaborate and sometimes he won't. You're like, well, all right. And then you see the match, you're like, why? What are you doing? But anyway, but for me, Dimitri is one of those great. So he brought me around on hardcore wrestling because I'm like saying like, okay, you guys pick up stuff and hit each other with stuff. I don't get it. Not that I don't get it, but it's just like, okay. And I'm like, and for him, it's like when I see him, like, you can do other stuff, right? But he's like, you can do other wrestling, that, right? Because let's face it, it pays a little more. It for some guys, it's a lot more fun. Yeah. But he really brought me around because his enthusiasm for it, and his insistence that it's wrestling, and as I gave into that, I got to see kind of the art form that is the hardcore, the lucha extrema, or whatever he's doing. and how the people really get into it, like in the Bracho crowds and the HOT crowds, where we see a little bit more of that. Not as much at MPX, but the further south you go, the more if you like that you get. Yeah. But you really brought me around and kind of seeing this whole other thing. So now I get excited about. All right, it's a hardcore match. Can't wait to see it.
And on that token, I already know who my 3 are.
Okay.
But I would say my second one.
Yes.
Is with my second probably favorite one would be Sky.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And for a couple of different reasons. One, the hardcore. There's just so much you can. I've gotten so many great photos out of those. And Sky at MPX was kind of my introduction to more of the hardcore matches.
When we first started going, he was in this feud with Mr. Legs.
Yeah.
And all this other stuff. And Kirby was all, I have to stop the menace that is Sky de la Cremosa.
But that's the other thing is there's been such a range with Sky.
Yeah.
We've seen him the serious
the menace.
Like Escape Down the Mental Asylum.
Straight up monster. Yeah.
And then we've seen him in more of like having fun with it. Kind of things. Also just the textures and stuff that he has sometimes with some of his ring gear and things make for great photographs. You know, and I think he's just been around long enough to kind of know some of the things that will work.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting to see Sky's progression too, like Laura's talking about. Like the year that Jason Silver passed away. Because that was Sky's tag team partner.
Right.
And a lot of things kind of fell on Sky's shoulder at that point. Everybody kind of looked to him for the strength to get through it all. And he ended up winning the Addicts Championship, and everybody celebrated and rejoiced. And then he had to get through. HOT had a Jason Silver Memorial event kind of thing, and he was kind of, a lot was put on him for that, to get through that and win the event and that sort of thing. It was kind of a tournament style event. But seeing everything that he goes through to that, like those situations, but then also gets through that, and then also still endeavors to do even more behind the scenes. Like we talked about the birthday parties and special events that MPX will do. He's gotten into that with his Excessive Violence Productions. So he puts those together. If you ever want a unique birthday party experience, I definitely recommend that.
It comes with photographers.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're cheap and easy. Don't worry. Slice of pizza is all I need.
Cake. That's all.
That was a fun thing. First time for me for a birthday party. Like, so how much would you like us? Should we pay you for this? And I was like, is there food and wrestling? I'm fine. I don't need anything else. Let me just, and so.
So who would be your second one?
Right.
It's tough.
From the entertainment standpoint, I enjoy Matthew Palmer.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. For me, the Matthew Palmer experience, when I first started going to MPX, like I said, I wasn't allowed in early back in the early days, even though I was cool and important. That's okay. So I'd be standing outside with all the fans. And when the first couple weeks or whatever, everyone was like, "Hey, do you think Palmer will be here tonight?" I don't know. You think Palmer? What do you think about Palmer? I'm like, "What are you guys talking about?" It was like this weird whisper campaign of like, "Who's this Palmer guy they keep talking about? Wonder if he's gonna be here. I wonder what he's up to. What is he doing?" And they make it out like he's really good. I don't know what's going on. And then like Palmer comes back, and this is the very early days of the Monster Hunter gimmick, which he did so well with that. But he comes back and he gets in there like, "Oh, this is Palmer. Okay." he's a lot of fun. And he was. And the more he got into and endeavored with the Monster Hunter character, the outfits, the everything, the vignettes they would do, the elixir angle where it's like, you take the elixir and also do strong Palmer. But he has this great entertainment value that I just enjoy so much with his reactions and the things he does in the ring. Him versus Lance Archer for Revolver at the Epic was amazing. Yeah. Another one of those matches where you got a great view of stuff no matter what seat you were in, because they were all over the place. And at one point, Archer's chasing Palmer around the ring, and Palmer ends up going over the guardrail right in my lap, essentially. He kind of slides down into the floor. And so I had this dilemma, JJ. You see, being a front row photographer, he's like, what do I do in this situation? Obviously, I should help Palmer, but I should also probably take a lot of pictures for posterity first and then help Palmer. And so that's kind of, he's like, "Brian, help me up." I'm like, "Oh, sorry, Matt." And then, kind of getting picked up and getting him on his way. But yeah, so I've learned take fewer pictures and then help Palmer is now my new take on that. So yeah, no, things like that. I really love character wrestlers. And so I've got a tie for third now because that totally reminds me. So you got Palmer, great, and everything he does. It's always one of those things that, like, whenever Palmer is mentioned, you're like, this is going to be an awesome match no matter what happens. This guy,
it's going to be entertaining.
It's going to be entertaining.
No matter what,
when they hooked him up with the Scorn for a moment. And they were Scorny time.
Entrance, yeah.
Entrance of the I know. Oh my gosh. It was like, I was like, I don't know if wrestling can get any better than this, and I don't want it to, because this is all I need right now. And it was like just the bestest thing ever. And then like him and Athena was always great because it was like the love story of that and Athena and
she's always
two crazy kids. Yeah, she's always
getting him in line.
And that one time where he was sneaking out to come to whatever event that was, she's like streaming or whatever, and he's like coming out. It was a video package, and he shows him like checking in on her, and she's like, "You're not going to wrestling, right?" He's like, No, honey, I'm not. I'm gonna do something else. I'm gonna go to the gym or something like that. I'm gonna go visit some guy, some friend or whatever. And he like closes the door. He's like, dummy, and he goes off. And then she like partway through the match. I think it was the Rumble. That's what it was.
Yeah,
it was the Rumble. And so he comes out and he's in the Rumble and he's getting beaten up. I think it's by Shane Douglas or whatever, the big mountain of a man. And then all of a sudden her music hits, and you're like, oh no. So it was bad news for both Shane Douglas, but also for her husband, because she basically took him back home right after that. And so, but yeah, it's always like, so wrestling, it's really easy to think that wrestling is about cool moves. What you learn in photography and everything else is that if you think that wrestling is all about the suplexes and the headlocks and everything, you lose that wrestling is about story.
Right.
And if you're lucky, you get wrestlers that really bring you into that story. Whether it's they believe in their character 110% and want you to be part of that with them or whatever it is, or if they're that bad and evil and you're so happy when their head gets beaten and you're like, yes, that guy was so mean, whatever it is. But it really brings you in and gets you really invested in it. And so it's interesting. You see guys trying to find their way in that way. And sometimes a lot of it is just trying to get down just trying to get through a match, trying to get the moves down, that sort of thing, get through a match without getting all just tired and like that sort of deal, and trying to get the crowd into it. And then you're working on that. And so the great ones for me really bring in the crowd the whole time. And so you've got Palmer as my second one. And then do you have where we are now? Are you on third?
Yeah.
Do you have somebody?
Third.
My third one. Ooh. Gosh. I just want to say there's so many runner-up.
I thought you had
honorable mentions.
Mm-hmm.
I do. My third would be Exodus Prime.
Wow.
Okay.
And part of the reason of that is, one, Exodus is just a showman. We've when we saw him with who was just here?
Rick Swan.
Who expected Exodus to pull out that dance battle? Come on now.
Yeah.
It's true.
But the thing is that Exodus is one of the ones that's very aware of the ring. He's very aware of his angles. He's very aware of how things look, not just in the ring for the live, but also on film or on camera. Because when you go back through pictures, the outtake pictures that I don't post, faces, missed moves, things like that. Yeah. And I never want to expose anybody. But with Exodus, there's not many photos where it's like his face is just totally off or giving away things or anything. Like he's very aware of all the little nuances when he's in the ring.
Another wrestler that's just like that I haven't seen a lot lately because he's gone off and doing other things right now and traveling and such, is JD Griffey, who has kind of that same aspect that she's talking about.
Yeah.
And she's right. I forget about that until someone mentioned, like, what's really cool is when a wrestler can do this. And his thing is he is locked into that match.
Sure
everything
is.
He is responding to everything. It's that match. It's not like I'm trying to think my next move, just whatever. I'm waiting for this guy to finish his thing. He's reacting to what's going on. He is reacting. He's getting like a good expression as he's doing whatever he's doing. If he's tearing up his opponent or whatever, so we're getting torn up by his opponent. But some of my when I was early on, especially shooting that, I was like, this guy's great, because like she said, there's hardly a bad picture of this because he's reacting to everything. It's like he is totally in that moment. And so, see, being a photographer, you can kind of pick apart wrestling, not in a bad way, but you kind of see
the
all the inner. You see all the inner workings of it too.
Yeah.
And you see people who do certain things so well, you forget about them being an issue for somebody else. You're like, wow. Like in tag matches and stuff like that, guys kind of get a little drift. They'll kind of like more like, you'll see them kind of like hit the turnbuckle, come on, buddy, or they'll kind of react to the fans a little bit, but they won't be locked into what's going on. Like some do it better to a better degree than others, but the good ones can really do that, which again kind of brings you in. Sorry, and did you have more?
I mean, I can name a lot, but
well, for me,
that's my 3.
Okay, and do I have one left? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Because I took Brick Savage. I'm sorry.
I thought JD was your third. Oh, hold on.
No.
So the funny thing, and I don't know why this just came to my brain, but like that's just crazy how life works. Speaking of JD, I actually remember his whole story and angle with Red, and I was actually at that show, front row. Was it the Rumble? Was it after the Rumble? It was whenever they had their little breakup, and Red was going to be the year of Red, and I can't remember if JD had got eliminated or if he lost the title, but JD was sitting ringside and was just like,
move.
That's right.
Move.
Did not move. The show ended. The lights came on. People were sweeping.
They were putting up the chairs. People are like, see you guys next week. He's just all
like,
and they finally come back. That is so true. Everybody's coming to take pictures with him as he's just sitting there against the barricade. It's just like, okay.
Yeah.
It's like some people are like, I think we broke JD. I'm a little concerned. Is there anyone we can call? Does he have like a contact or something? So my third place. And I totally forgot that I had 3, and I was like, I have a tie now for third place. But when as Laura was talking about some of the great things about what the relationship with wrestlers can be, for me, one of those wrestlers was Matt Locke, who was really good about all the things Laura mentioned about being enthusiastic for the work. A lot of before the show, kind of like, hey, so we kind of got plans, want to be over here, check this out as we're going along. And he'd be one of the guys first to message you after the show and be like, hey, did you get any cool stuff? And then you see the pictures, he's like, oh my gosh, these are amazing, thank you. And then we go on and post them. Right. The future a little uncertain on if he'll be back or not. I don't know, but just one of those things was really important to me. Of that, it was one of those early relationships that really made it feel worthwhile and really awesome to do what I do. Okay, and so the other one, because when I was talking about Pulver, I thought about the other one. This other wrestler who was really kind of really entertaining and really secretly maybe my favorite wrestler currently, and that is I know, and there's a story, but it's Paulie Paparazzi. Because you want entertainment, you want reactions.
Like I have just been betrayed.
And you want great faces at every turn, and you want entertainment. It's just so great to shoot Paulie Paparazzi.
So disappointed.
I'm sorry, but I can't like name those 3 without like how much I enjoy photographing Paulie Paparazzi, because he's just so into being Paulie Paparazzi. And I know he's kind of at one point, but he's now a towel boy. He's not really competing for what you do anymore or what I do. I mean, we can be friends now because he's just a towel guy.
Have you tried being ringside with him?
No, actually, I don't think I have.
My way.
Oh, is that what? So not a favorite for Laura.
Always.
Oh,
the camera phone. The camera phone has got me
to give your list, and I know Paulie is kind of the wild card because Paulie is lately, at least from what I've seen.
Oh my gosh.
Paulie's reactions have just been getting bigger and bigger every single week. And, the sky's the limit for Paulie. So
it is. And I'm a little scared for Paulie right now.
That's another one that I got to talk to because Paulie has been itching to get on the show. So, Paulie, we will be in touch very soon. And
the towel smells amazing, by the way.
Really?
Yes. He washes it before every show or something because it always smells amazing.
I didn't know that.
Okay. To be fair, I had always thought that it was one of those things you just keep it in your gym bag, you pull it out for the show.
Sure.
You don't know how many of those guys, like, it's like they just keep their gear in their bag and pull it out when it's showtime.
Oh, small food with smelly gear people is not good.
I never will forget because I used to mess with Paulie ringside. Mm-hmm. And so one time I stole, he used his camera phone. I stole his phone and took a picture with Grandma Silver. And he didn't see it until after the match. And it was hilarious.
There's this perpetual feud between him and Grandma Silver. Yes.
So
you always take a swipe
on Granny Silver's.
Oh no! She'll get that belt. and it's like bedazzled with something. I don't know what that is, but you do not want to get hit by that. That's all I know.
The belt gives me PTSD because me and my best friend, unfortunately, were hit by that during Tatum's little heel era.
Oh.
Yeah. Tatum got me. Yeah, it's fine. The receipts are there. It
Scarred
wasn't a
for
fun
life.
time. Definitely, yeah. Gosh.
Oh man.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's okay,
You
JJ.
need a
It's all
moment,
right.
JJ?
It's all right. It's okay, buddy.
No, it's okay. It's just
We can
you know,
keep taking over. It's fine. Take a moment. It's fine.
that was a very rough purge, I can say, because
Right.
yeah, no, Tatum was a whole different aura at that time, and Grandma Silver was just swinging for the fences, and I'm like Brian in the corner, like, oh
There
no.
you go. Yeah.
Man, she has. Speaking of Polly, she has torn after Polly a few times.
Oh, it's been great.
Yeah, and it's hilarious because
hilarious.
Polly has these big reactions, and he's like had to sneak around the corner trying to just inch far enough away she can't reach him.
Right. Polly's great because he's on from coming out of that curtain to going back in that curtain. He is Polly. Polly is just on for the show. It's just like, so he's getting whipped at by Grandma Silver. He's trying to interfere in the match. He's flirting with one girl over here, telling off another guy over here. He's got the fedora. He's doing all the things.
I'm super excited, man. I love it. Thank you guys for being a part of tonight. And before we kind of wrap things up, and we looked at it earlier, but I'm going to do this again. So, can you see my screen?
I can.
There we go. So, this is for the audience watching and keeping up. And, I want to get your feedback and your final thoughts as we kind of wrap things up. But Revolver is coming back right around the corner, Saturday, October 12th at the Epic. It is, as the title says, going to be a night of unforgettable wrestling. All of the details that you need to know are on our website, jointheepic.com. You can find this. You can see who's already been announced so far.
Oh, yeah.
The Rascals, Burt Vixen, Matt Palmer, Sami Callihan. One of my personal favorites, Speedball Mike Bailey, is going to be in the building.
That guy.
And we still have more to come. So you can scroll down and click that link, grab your ticket before they sell out, because I almost guarantee we will have another sellout. And before we wrap up, do you guys have any final thoughts on this road to Revolver? What are you looking forward to? Who do you hope is coming? Any crazy ideas? I mean, last time Brick was there, Brick punched through a door.
That's right.
Yeah.
Not only did he punch through a door, he kept punching through the door to hit his opponent, and that's one of my favorite
him by
things.
the throat.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
It's like JJ being at the Epic inspires epic things out of not only wrestling promotions but the people who visit, and with Revolver, I mean they've got to keep getting bigger and bigger, because I know that when MPX was there for Destiny not too long ago, I know they're like, because it was that show, right? It's that show like, can we make this happen? What's going to happen? We're going to be all right. Can we do this? Right. And they come off like, this is amazing. And I hear Palmer go like, yeah, I sent a picture to Callahan. Because MPX did some things a little bit different and things like that. They're working a little bit better than Revolver's kind of set up and everything like that. You're like, there you go. So I think there's that friendly rivalry that goes on there. But yeah, you've got Palmer already. I can't wait for that. Even no matter what he's kind of going with for the gimmick, it's Palmer is going to be entertaining no matter what.
Right.
Vert Vixen is an amazing wrestler. I've seen her a couple different places. She'll be a lot of fun to watch. Just everybody they mentioned is just another wrestler who's like, this is gonna be great. You may not be familiar with who they are before you go in there, but once you see that, you're gonna be like, that was awesome. I'm excited.
I'm excited to see more announcements.
That reminds me, I need to buy a ticket.
Right.
See this.
I do know one of the wrestlers that hasn't been announced, so excited for that. Actually, I'm excited to see who their opponent will be.
Right. I've seen one wrestler who is like said, hey, here I am for the rest of the year. And you see like Revolver. So they're like, but they haven't mentioned so and so yet. So like, But yeah, Revolver does great surprises.
Yeah. I also like it though because the mix up in matches.
Yeah.
They make use of all the way around the Epic.
Exactly.
Yep. I'm totally surprised no one has like gotten up in the elevator and gone to the second floor yet. Like that's what I'm waiting for.
Don't you go put those ideas out there, Laura Pulver. Don't you do that. JJ's got a heart condition. I'm just kidding.
Hey, it's all good.
I mean,
I'm supporting it.
And there's really no bad seats.
No.
So
The way that the seating works out, it's great.
yeah, it really works for doing the wrestling events.
It's like the right size for wrestling. You got enough space for your back area. You've got plenty of room for seating.
Well, and the way
And all
the
the seats
general
are great.
admission, even with the general admission, like you almost have like the little bit of stadium seating.
Right, yeah, you get a little bit of elevation.
So you're above the people
Yeah.
who are like front row, so you
Exactly.
can still see pretty well.
And you still get concessions fit in the back and everything. I mean, and then what's really cool is you get the meet and greet beforehand. Now I know it's a separate ticket, but if you really like the wrestlers involved, it definitely is worth the price because they're there. They're great. I mean, we've been there, but not there. We were helped with setup. MPX does a lot of helping with the setup and everything, so we get there for that, but we don't do the meet and greet.
I like that Wrestling Revolver when they're in town too. They like to bring in Texas talent. Some of the bigger guys that have come from Texas.
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, I would love to see Lance Archer again.
It's so big.
I know. Who else could we? I don't. Gosh, I don't even know because they always surprise me with at least one or two announcements.
And they bring in good talent too. I know that when, like for me, one of the great surprises the last time was Mansoor, who had just recently been released from a certain WWE place, and hadn't really gotten a lot of exposure there. I mean, he won like the Battle Royal in Saudi Arabia because he was the guy from Saudi Arabia or from Jeddah, kind of thing. So it kind of seemed like those things like, well, that's awfully convenient. But anyway, but you're like, oh, behind stage, they say he's a great guy, whatever. Like, all right, okay, whatever. And then like Revolver comes around and he's shooting these promos. Like it looks like he shot his promo for Revolver like on vacation at Disney World with his family. If you go back and watch it, it's this great one of like he's in his hotel room right now. Like, is he like, okay, everybody, hang on just a second, I got to shoot a clip. Hey, so and so, Brian Keith, let me tell you about blah blah blah. It was hilarious, and then getting to see him in the ring. Oh my god, another one that was amazing to watch. That it was one of those things of even as much exposure as Elias got in WWE.
Yes,
his match was unlike anything I'd seen him wrestle before, in like the best way possible. I mean, he was doing like all this stuff, and it was just insane to watch. So I think great things about like Revolver and other indie things, and especially Revolver, gives those kind of people a shot to show that hey, I can still go. You know, it's not like I'm not this like has-been gimmick. I'm not some sort of gimmick. I can do my own thing. I promise. And they get out there and they just show that, and that's one of the great surprises that Revolver brings you. And then they bring like their tried and true talent, like you said, Mike Speedball Bailey. I mean, you watch that guy, and it's amazing how quick and nimble he is. You're just like, what in the world? And
it never fails. It seems like they have talent that is just on that cusp of being signed or going somewhere else, you know?
If they're not already, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I remember Brian Keith, there had been rumblings about it, and everybody suspected it, but we got to see him with Mansoor.
Right, that's such a great
before he got signed to
AEW.
Yeah. And there's been a couple others, like the Rascals now are signed.
Or NXT, I think, yeah.
For NXT.
Sounds right,
yeah.
So that's kind of what's fun about Wrestling Revolver too, is because they do bring in quality talent. So these are people that you are more than likely going to see go on to a bigger opportunity. So.
You see, JJ, you're not going to have a bad time. You're going to have an epic time at the Epic watching Wrestling Revolver.
You know what? I need to steal that tagline for the next few shows. Can I call you whenever I'm doing the next shows and you can?
You can. Ladies and gentlemen, Wrestling Revolver at the Epic will be epic. But you're not going to have a great time. You're going to have an epic time.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for taking the time out to join me. Stay tuned for more episodes of Epic Live down the road as we get ready for Revolver's return. And until next time, y'all have a good evening. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, JJ.